Hi, everybody. It is Wednesday, April 28th, and I want to do a short video to kind of explain my situation of kind of how I'm waking up to what's going on. I know I've done it in past videos, but I want to kind of expand on it a little bit more. um, the position we're all in right now is we've all kind of woken up to it, and that's why it's called, give it a basic name of the Great Awakening, is Earth is going through a paradigm shift. It's changing. It's kind of like changing realities. It's waking up to the way things should have been, but this system has been hijacked. And I know I've talked about it before, um, but I kind of want to tell you from my perspective why why I'm waking up to this and things like that. Um, and I also want to kind of expand a little bit more when I say I'm from the future. What it is once you get outside of this reality, it's basically it's like a holodeck reality, and all all physical realities are like that. It's sort of like I was explaining the other day. It's like we are all energetic beings, um, which are part of. We're all this. We're all one and the same. We're kind of all one, but we splintered into separate entities to experience, well, not only to expand our experiences, because it's like, you know, even if I wanted to, let's say, split myself, it's like, well, I want to be a helicopter pilot, but I also want to be, um, a portrait painter or something. So if I could split myself into two, I can have two experiences at the same time. It's like, okay, it's pretty cool. Well, imagine if Creator, God, or whatever, which is us, we decided that gazillions of years ago, just to kind of trying to splinter ourselves into having multiple experiences. It's kind of like that. As usual, I try to simplify things just to sort of add a little bit of humor to them too. But so basically, where we're at right now is, um, because Earth has been sort of captured, and our consciousness and our energy has been basically being farmed from us. Um, uh, we're all breaking free of that, but it's really hard to break free of well, we all know that it's really hard to break free of old habits too, just being here. But it's hard to break free of a control system, which is basically, in a sense, brainwashed us. Like we're all used to this certain way of living, and what we don't realize is we're all kind of slaves. Whether we have the illusion of freedom, but in reality, we're all either slaves. Well, we're all slaves to money for sure, which is a system that's not natural at all. I mean, we've grown up with this, so it makes sense to us and everything. We get it. It's got some sort of value. I mean, it's just a piece of paper for the most part, but it represents value and whatever. I get that, but so the transition we're going to be going through in the future and starting now's our breakout. It's going to be transitioning from these old systems into it'll sound like a new system, but in reality, what it is the way it should have always been, and it's going to become easier for us to comprehend because of that. Because it'll seem more natural. It's like, well, okay, things will make more sense because, as we all know right now, things don't make sense because it's based on a control system. It's like who's got the money. It's not about doing what's right. It's all about power and control. So, I mean, if anybody just opens up their eyes, they can just see that everywhere on planet Earth. It's all about it's the have and have-nots, and it's about control, and they keep that up, and they were trying to completely control us to the point where we were absolute slaves, and that was the direction this. And I keep going to timelines because yeah, it's like a timeline that on this trajectory, it always ends up us being basically slaves, you know. And and we don't really even we don't even realize it to this day how much we're kind of slaves. Um, anyway, so as far as me, I'm trying to explain from my perspective is um, there's a bunch of us from the future. Like I said, it was hundreds of thousands. I'm not exactly sure. Um, that volunteered to come back to this particular timeline and try to help steer it in the right direction. So we're all here as volunteers. And I myself have been waking up to this, and I know that it sounds crazy and everything, but if anybody has ever had amnesia or had their memories erased, it doesn't come all back at once. It comes back in little bits. It's it's like remembering a dream or something. It's like, oh yes, like yeah, I remember doing that. And you're always trying to connect these little dots in your thoughts, just like okay, we all we also have a bad habit of trying to make everything linear, and that's why when you're outside of time, which is basically in the spiritual world or in a higher density, there's no such thing as time, and that's a crazy concept. And it took me a while to wrap my head around it. I was toying with that idea probably about 20 years ago. Watching even just movies about time travel and things like that. But as you can imagine, there's multiple endings on any timeline. Um, so as far as what, and I keep saying I've got guides, which is true, and when I say they tell me things, it's very similar to, well, it's telepathic, so it's not as if I hear their voice. Obviously, they're saying it. They're probably even saying it in my own voice to my own brain, just to make it easier. Um, but it is. That's actually told to me in sentences, and it's like a conversation, but it's telepathically. And it isn't. They don't. It don't necessarily answer my questions a lot of times, although they do. Um, but literally, it'll just be. I could just be driving down the road, and something will come. Some thought. And being an artist, I'm always thinking, okay, I've got a great imagination, and maybe it's just my own thoughts. So I kind of just. I never really took it that serious before, but every once in a while it'll tell me. I keep saying it, but I'll hear these profound things. It's like some thought, because I mean, we all come up with cool ideas and everything. Every once in a while, we go, okay, maybe I should go here and experience this or whatever. But sometimes I get like really profound concepts of like, well, mankind shouldn't be using money or whatever. It's like, what? Who said that? What are you talking about? It's more profound things that they'll tell me things, or sometimes they'll give me heads up on what's coming and things like that. So it's not as if I'm like a channeler or something. It's just literally that's why I call them guides. It's the best way of saying that. And they've saved me from from a lot of stuff. So they saved my life quite a few times too. So like I equate that to that small voice in your head, telling you shouldn't be doing that or whatever. Um, so it's kind of like that. But if I was trying to explain it more, because like I said, it's coming out of amnesia, and I'm slowly getting some memories back. And I'm getting memories back not only of past lives, but also um, of, in a sense, this mission of coming here. So um, I'm trying to explain what they've been telling me, and kind of like I was going back to what I said before, there's like literally hundreds of thousands of volunteers coming back, and what they've how they've explained it is Earth is an energetic, well, everything is energy, as you know, E equals mc squared or whatever. So everything vibrates at different frequencies, and everything is energy. Well, Earth is a big ball of energy, and it actually has a life form of its own. Um, and it goes through cycles as well, and we're just sort of happening on the surface and also inside too, but on the surface of this Earth. So when we came here, what they were explaining to us to make this work properly is we had to, and that's why I was always trying to figure out why they were saying I'm an anchor. It's like I was an energy source, or basically a conduit for energy, for positive energy. And they've spread us around the world as even as they could. Which, what I mean is, like, there's incarnations, in Ukraine. There's incarnations in Africa. We've all incarnated into human bodies around the world and anchored in, being grounded to that particular spot. And because everything is energy, we're getting energy from the ground, from the trees, from energy from the sun. We're getting energy all over the place. They wanted to spread this around as evenly as possible for this to work properly. Like I said, I don't know the mechanics behind all this stuff. I'm just kind of also relaying what I'm told. So a, a lot of people will call themselves star seeds and star workers and stuff, and it's true. Uh, a lot of people have come back for this particular uh, module to help change things. Um, I call them modules because it's like I've been told the bigger picture all the time. It's always like there's always a story within a story within a story type of thing, and then when you go outwards and you say, well, why are they doing that? Well, they're usually for a bigger reason, and then there's for a bigger reason or a bigger reason. Well, the real big reason for all this is there's two main reasons why. It's for a purging of negativity. It's a purging of negativity. So it's kind of like separating evil from good. So these are all sort of lessons for us to learn, or sort of like pick a side or whatever between good and evil. Sort of. That's the simplest way to put it, because that's how we talk about it on Earth. We talk about evil and good, but in reality, all of this is, in a sense, negative energy and positive energy, which is intertwined. It really is intertwined. So, in other words, you can't have good without having evil, sort of. That's the bigger picture. So, what I mean by that is, what we do is we set up situations where we can learn from them to make a decision. So, yeah, and that's how we learn, because if there is no choices, then there's no choices to make. So it's like, okay, you got to pick a side, or we're always set up with these scenarios of like, okay, what do you see if someone's beating up a dog in your neighborhood? Are you the type of person that would sort of go, oh, stand back and go, that's bad, and just say, you shouldn't do that? Or would you be the type of person to step in and say, hey, stop that? It gives you an opportunity to make that choice. It's like, what would you do under that situation? So that's kind of what we do constantly to ourselves, whether we realize it or not. And usually it's on a daily basis too. There's usually small things, but they're all decisions. You can pick to do the right thing or to ignore it, or whatever. Anyway, so these are all kind of like, what I really mean by that is like spiritual lessons. So in a sense, our spirits, being pure energy, purposely come to physical realities to have that opportunity to make that choice. Because if you can imagine, if you live in a world where it's always good, there's nothing, it's always bliss. Well, there's not. First of all, we can't learn anything. There's nothing to learn. There's no choices to make. Anyway, no, I'm going on too deep there about that stuff. Anyway, I want to get back to explaining myself as far as coming from the future. What it is, and that's why it's not one particular timeline that I came back and I want to try to change it and fix it. What it is there are always probabilities and possibilities. So this was the most likely time to come for this particular timeline, and And as you can imagine, it has a ripple effect. It has a ripple effect across the universe. What's happening here? What happened here so many times has basically had a negative effect in the future. This is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to just put it out there, you guys. It takes a while to understand all these concepts. But if you can change that book or that timeline, it changes everything forever again. It really does. So by doing it here, it fixes multiple millions and millions of different timelines. And in a sense, I guess what I'm getting at is I think Creator, God, Source, or us, we've decided that those timelines are not needed. That in other words, it got so bad. Well, there's also another thing going on too, but I'm not sure if I should explain that. It's kind of complicated. But it's like we don't need to experience things that bad, but also because I'll just touch on the subject. The negative entities that are got together to try to do this have sort of a crazy plan to take control. So in a sense, if I can simplify this thing again, what it is they don't want to leave this matrix. They don't want to. It's like it's very well created because it's created by us. These reality worlds. But if you can imagine, if their decision was to rule these holodecks, like that's the simplest way I sort of put it for now. It's like they wanted to be the ruler of the holodecks rather than, go back to Source and have more experiences, that type of thing, like we do. But more than that, this is where it got really bad down the line, is they want to actually take over everything, as in they want to be equal to Source. That's where it was headed. And that's why it had to be stopped. That's the easiest way I can put it. And it's a complicated way how they were trying to do it. But as you can imagine, the only way they can do that is if they have a key to Source. And guess what? We are the key to Source. All of us have Source in us. So basically, they're trying to hijack our actual spirits. They're starting with our consciousness. They can easily manipulate our physical bodies. That's easy. They've mastered that. And the second is can they capture our consciousness and manipulate that? Well, they've been doing a pretty darn good job so far, and it got worse for us. So that was their second plan. So physical, hijacking of our bodies, then our consciousness, and then they're heading for our spirits. They want to take them all. They want to take that energetic Source package and become Source. That's their ultimate plan. And we're not going to let it happen. There's lots and lots of firewalls built up so that won't happen. But it's just so we could see that they were really, really heading in that direction. So going back to me, but why I came back here is I was shown this in the future, and made a decision to volunteer to come back. And these missions, and I've been on more. This isn't the first time I've done this before, and on different worlds. These decisions are kind of scary because you can get wrapped up in the storyline. You can get caught up, and I've got to admit, there's been quite a few times I've got wrapped up in the storyline, and you could kind of forget your mission completely and fail. That's basically you failed your mission if you get caught up in it too much. So for me, what I was kind of told is you when we come here, we have to try to make as little of a footprint as possible. So um, it only became more clear the older I got. I got more information, but that's why I don't work for anybody. I'm self-employed. I can't be connected to the system as much as possible. I have to be separated from the system in order to be useful. I can't have any children, so I didn't have any children. Um, there can be nothing that affects the timeline too much. Um, it's just whatever. I've had to really dumb it down as much as possible and not stand out. And I remember getting that message so many times, and I was always like, well, why do I have to do that? Well, it's becoming clear now. But also, um, I was also told that I can be more free to affect um, this world in a positive way. Like right now, these videos that I make, I think it's really only for very few people. It's for people that kind of get what I'm talking about. This isn't really for public consumption in a sense. You know what I mean? It's like, because it's way out there. And I know it is. It's pretty hard to understand what I'm talking about. But as time goes on, things will get clearer because you guys, everybody, is going to start waking up to what's really going on, and then, um, yeah, and not all that, but you'll have access to all this information that I've got. So it's not. That's the whole point. Is this whole thing has been suppressed knowledge, and we're going to get it back. And so, kind of going more on an update of what's going on lately. What it is we have to take Earth back in a physical way. That is part of the rules. So we can't just do a magical wand and fix everything. It has to be done in a physical version. So you might hear this as like in sayings like "as above, so below." That's kind of what's going on here too. So the decisions that we've made in the etheric world, in the spiritual world, translate, and that's why there's people like me and there's millions of them. I'm not special. That we connect to Earth. We're a conduit for positive energy as much as possible because it's not easy being human. And we have to spread this positive feeling and positive energy out there in order to change things. So what's going on right now is, that's why this story seems to drag out, especially the people that picked up on what's really going on, is it has to manifest itself now into a physical form. So literally it's spreading. We have to fight back. And I'll give you an example. Perfect example of that is the mask wearing and things like that. We have to say no to their controls. But as we all know, it's difficult too because they set it up so you can't say no, or you get a fine or whatever. I'm just saying we have to fight it tooth and nail. And you've seen a lot of these uprisings of freedom marches, whether it's all across Europe, and you'll never see any news coverage of it. But I'm just saying that's what we have to do. We have to fight back. We have to do it in this physical form. This is part of, I guess, the lesson too. But also that's how we transform it. So this we're creating a new world for ourselves, and we have to physically manifest it. So that's part of our job, and that's why I say stay positive, because as you know, all these three things are linked together for us. They're basically our spirit, our consciousness, and our physical body. We have to try to tune them together to be to work well, and it's difficult. It is. I mean, it's part of the challenge. I have a hard time with it all the time too. So, but at least I know the direction to take, and I'm always kind of like give my head a shake and say, no, don't do that, and yes, try to do this, and try to be brave. Things. So it's not easy, but like I said, I've come here to help. So whatever I can do, and I'm told to discuss these things with people. So take it with a grain of salt as usual. Okay, that's my Wednesday update. I'll talk to you later. Bye.